G'day, mate, and welcome back to Factorio with me, JD. Now, I'm staying in another base, so it's another base tour, obviously. You probably got that from the title. This time we're actually touring at Aflixion's base. Now, if you guys watch Exterminator at all, you've probably heard Aflixion mentioned, right? He's quite active over in Exterminator's channel, Discord, all that sort of stuff. Me and him actually got chatting during one of Exterm's streams, and he offered for to send me a copy of his base so I could have a look-see. And because I love doing base tours, I said, sure, no problems. Shoot it to me and I will happily have a look. So this is his base. Now, we start conveniently right in the middle of a make everything. I really hope it was planned that way. I really hope this is where spawn is. I've literally just loaded the map and bang, that's where I started. Complete with power armor and shotguns and nukes and you know, blueprints and inventory full of stuff and a spare power armor, obviously. One for combat, one for building. But yeah, you know, it's a make everything. It is the Mojo variant, right? At least it's probably the Mojo variant. Mojo ME, yep, it's the Mojo variant. So it is a, I want to say it's a true make everything, but I know it doesn't actually make everything unless you put down all the blueprints and then add a few things that Mojo just goes, nope, you don't need, like discharge defense. So it's a good old make almost everything. Now, Aflixion has done this base with no mods whatsoever. It is a 1k science pack per minute base. I have popped a few mods on here. I've put one on for more lighting, which I probably don't need as I have night vision. And due to just the size of this base, we're going to do all this from map view because there is no way I'm going to run around all the different sections. On top of that, we've got the total time up here because I like that mod. I honestly like the mod. And I think he's probably got auto research installed. Not that you need it and you can technically run it with a command. No, obviously he's just going for as fast robots as possible. Maybe not. That's 20,000. That's 256,000. Yeah, he's probably going for as fast robots as possible. So, we're going to make everything. Now, these make everythings, they just pull in whatever they need. So, whatever they need just gets delivered straight into the make everything, dumped into the active providers. Boom, 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 shebang, done. And then you can call out different trains to have stuff actually delivered out of the make everything. Either or you just come back there and pick stuff up. So we have, you know, a fairly typical 1k base. So we've got, you know, red science down here. I'd love to ask Aflixion this one, and I guess it doesn't apply so much to red science because it is, the build is wider than the actual train is. But normally you see these builds zigzagged in, so it makes them slightly wider but slightly less tall, which I guess is technically further for bots to travel. I don't know. It's an odd way of doing these builds, but we've got a red science build here, and you know we're doing 1.1 per minute. We've got a green science build here. Same story, 1.1. Blue science build. Again, just over 1. And see this one. This one normally I see these with, you know, trains in the middle. You know, and blue on either side with the train, you know, taking out the blue science, leaving also from the middle. So you put all 4 train stations in the middle and hopefully mitigate your bots this way. Instead, the bots are always flying up, you know, to drop stuff, then potentially up high to pick stuff up to then leave. But you can see there are bots being called from these top roboports all the way down here to pick up crap, to either take it to the top or sometimes even just take it down to the bottom. You know, bots are smart. Bots are smart. Anyway. We go into a military science, again, you know, 1k per minute. It's not often you actually see military science builds in, you know, straight mega bases. Most people don't bother. He does have laser turret 13, which is slightly higher than normal, but yet no artillery. So I haven't seen any biters. Oh, here they are, right at the outskirts. Let's turn on turret coverage. No, there's no active artillery. Pollution's getting there, but so I'm guessing he's out manually clearing biters when required. We got a purple science. Same story. Like blue is really the hardest. Purple's smaller. Yellow is slightly bigger because of the direct insertion for copper cable, and because it came up in a previous base, it came up in Matthew Pocock's base. So if you turn on show active state, when these have that little red circle, that means they're off. Alright, and you'll see none of the assemblers should ever turn off, or this one's turning off ever so slightly in this one. But you see these inserters with the circuit condition. This is to make sure it doesn't overstack with copper cable. Yeah, it's never turning off, even when it has nothing to do. It never turns off. So, you know, this is why we try not to wire up inserters. That's why we no longer do a timed furnace. We have, you know, mines, good old bot mining, nice and simple. Dump them down, away they go. This looks like his temporary module base, which is just like bring in copper, smelt it, bring in iron, smelt it from local outposts. Nothing special. It's a temporary build. He says temporary build. We all know they last forever. Making green circuits, red circuits, blue circuits. He's getting, where's oil coming from? I didn't look. Oil is actually being trained in from, oh wow, one tiny little oil outpost that just gets oil. Alright, and then a PAX train for him to just go down and physically just grab modules, alright, to dump them in different builds. Every megabase needs one of these, and the sooner they have one of these, the better. And it's been running a while, I can see. You know, 9.6 thousand of each type of module, just in case you ever run out. You know, it's now set and has a tiny bit of wood in there as well. Maybe it needs to add a steam power down here just to like burn off 10,000 wood. Yeah. Anyway, we got an engine build. You know, all these builds are fairly stock standard. They are, for the most part. We'll get to some of the bigger ones. That's oil. I don't want to do oil yet. I want to do an actual... here, red circuits. A lot of his builds are tapered. Now, the idea with a tapered build, along with the trains being squished together as much as possible. So you can see plastic and green circuits are sharing the same unloading 2 squares. It just gets things a little bit narrower, a little bit smaller. So yeah, one of the things with these sorts of builds is the requester chests are set to be a maximum distance from here to here in the number of tiles. So rather than making, you know, the build slightly, you know, square, basically, right, you taper them in to just have bots have a slightly shorter travel time. Again, it's a UPS saving method. I haven't actually tested this one myself. I'm always curious on whether it actually saves anything, or whether, you know, and what scale it saves stuff. You know, some things are such a minor save that it only makes an effect if you do it 10,000 times. Like actually having power poles rather than substations is worse for UPS. Substations are more efficient because you need less of them, and every entity technically has to be calculated. Something I found out in my gigabase, only because I did everything with power poles, and then found out the hard way that power poles were really, really not nice. We've got a boost circuit build. Nothing special apart from the fact that it's missing a green circuit train. Obviously, it's just the green circuit train's just thinking about getting here. We got green circuits in, green circuits out. Green circuit train's got to go. Where the hell do they have to go? Down here, around here, all the way up to there, back in. Okay, so no, all the way up to here and then in. So green circuit trains have to go for a hike after getting to blue circuits, which is probably a little bit unfortunate because you do tend to go through a lot of green circuits. And this is a 1K science pack per minute base, so it's actually, I want to say tiny, cute. It's smaller than some of the bases I've looked at. But the fact that he's done it 167 hours without any mods is actually still quite impressive. Yeah, so that train's filled up. It's going to come here. There are 3 trains going there. Oh, there's lots of green circuit trains. It's going to unload, and it's going to be unloaded in half a second pretty much. Maybe not half a second because there's a fair bit to unload. That's probably one of the reasons it's slowing down, because it just takes so long to refill back up. Oh, we've got a train waiting. That's all right. That's progress. But yeah, you know, big user of green circuits. We do have our iron smelters here, and again, they're tapered builds. And as I think they're a little bit cute, just because I'm used to seeing much larger builds, and this is like smaller. It is a 16,000 iron plate per minute build, which is still quite impressive in its own right. And again, this is the time he has used, you know, double sharing. So this guy's inputting into here and into here. These two are output into the same one. This has got his input here. You know, it's trying to save as much as possible. I do think he's managed to get them. So another thing I can see he's tried to do to save bot travel time is, so we've got iron ore on the outside because we deliver 10 iron ore here. It goes into a smelter, but because of 40% or 20% productivity, you actually get 100 in and 120 out. The problem is he hasn't followed suit down on the next row or the next row. Alright, you want the iron ore on the outside and the plate on the middle, so all these have to be reversed, which is definitely an Aflixion problem. It's not something I'm ever going to think about doing. But yeah, another one is, you know, having fuel delivered refuel iron smelter right here, and then using lots and lots of little bot bridges to just get things A to B to C to D. I did this again in my gigabase, except I just used a belt. There you go, inserter, you know, a couple of bits of belt, and then into the next one. Technically, now that we all know a lot more, technically inserters, where is that one I had on? Show active state. Because all these inserters turn off because the chests are full, technically they'd be lower, but then belts have been highly optimized, so maybe not anymore. I know mine was on version 15, and I actually would have been better with a daisy chain of inserters. Nowadays, who knows? We got iron on one side, steel on the other. Steel again, it's a tapered build. Which does 3k steel per minute, so it's a good number. It is obviously larger than an iron build, but he's only using, what, 363s, and when a 363 disappears into a steel build, a lot of ore goes in and not a lot of steel comes out. So it's something you do have to keep in mind. When making your trains, you really got to decide what size train you need for your steel smelters, and then just accept that it's probably going to be a little bit too big for your iron and your copper smelters, because it is. You know, this holds 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12k in 1 minute. So this train needs to get in and out, if this is running at flat, you know, full speed, in probably about 40 seconds. It is one of the reasons why I've noticed here. Oh, I've just produced 1 million electric circuits. There you go. It is one of the reasons I've noticed he's got a shunt station, so these trains can come down and they can actually pull through the station, and we'll see here we go, pulls into a shunt and out of the shunt. This is to speed up the train getting through the station, and yeah, liberal use of signals to get the next train pulling through and in. I would probably overstack everything and actually have... So I would probably have an extra signal here, which means the next train could pop down early, very, very early, and be parked up the bum of the next one. It does mean you need twice as many iron trains, because a lot of them are already sitting down in your smelters ready to go, but you know, catch 22. We've got a copper smelter, again, exact same design as the iron smelter, cute, tiny, a little bit small. Only because I'm used to looking at bigger bases. Look, it's like I said, it's a wonderful base. His uranium processing, same story. He's just, you know, Covrex. It is a smart system to first boot it up, but from there on, and it's only designed to do that, so it only uses 40 per machine. But yeah, from there on, it's automated with a belt. And how does it populate? It doesn't populate. It just keeps outputting the excess. Okay, well there you go. And it's not capped either. So in theory, if left long enough, you could end up with 5 million happy uranium, right, and no dull uranium, which I have happened before. No, these are actually turned off according to a signal, which is linked to a row report. There we go. So these are actually turned off, on and off according to how much is in here. We've also got nuclear fuel being made down here, along with nuclear fuel reprocessing. There'll be a train that picks this up, takes it out. Yep, there we go. Refuel uranium, takes new fuel in, brings old fuel back. He's already doing on-site, processing, and that's probably the easiest, apart from the fact you need an ion input. But it wouldn't be too hard to pick this whole thing up and find another uranium deposit that had iron near it, like boom, right there and there. And 46 million uranium is going to take a while to burn through. So silos, again, it's a neat little design. We're just bringing in the 3 different trains. We are having 1 come from oil, obviously, and 2 coming from our rocket control unit and our low density structure builds, which again, tapered, nothing too special, apart from the poor train driver's got to work out this mess on the way in and out. This is why we always run trains on auto, never on manual. Look, they are segregated train networks, which is again good practice for saving UPS. The only thing I noticed is the train's not here at the moment. It's over at science. There we go. Science. So it holds 8K. Oh, these are capped. So because space science stacks so high, I'd probably be bad and have a 2-1-2. Just because I could. It's not going to fit into this station terribly well. And this station is a smart station. It's hooked up to a row report. And basically it says as soon as science gets too low, right, in the actual network, we then call in a train. It is a very similar setup I've seen before, I've used before. It is a very, very smart way to have a single unload station into active provider, into storage, to then run so many labs. It does mean you have random stuff here, like there's Aflixion. It's just bad form to have a burner inserter anywhere on your map. Unless you're playing the 30 science pack challenge, at which point, 30 science pack mod, at which point you need the damn things. We do have I guess, I don't know what to call this exactly. It's a ratioed, I think it's an N, 2N squared something, reactor build. Basically, actually this is a 6. So basically these blueprints go down 6 at a time. And the idea is every single one of these has a 1, 2, 3 neighborhood bonus. Right? Every single reactor has a 3 neighborhood bonus, except for the ones on the very end, and you just ignore them. You pretend they don't exist. As you can see, it's got a way lower power output on the last 2 than any other ones. And basically with all the changes that we've had to nuclear power, this is the only way you can make a very large nuclear build that works well together. All right? And you can keep almost infinitely expanding it. The heat pipes are run from these end reactors all the way down to the end. Heat up every heat pump. We've got these 2 working on this line and these 2 working on this line. So we've actually got 2 lots of steam coming down to run 2 lots of turbines. And as you can see, there is some pretty hefty... Oops, I want that back. There is some pretty hefty throughput through that pipe. Just trying to think. So steam is heating up to 75 degrees. There is 21 of them, and you do 60 per second. Wrong button. Can I use... No, I can't use max rate calculator on that. What can I use max rate calculator on? Anything here. 21 times 60 is 1260. So yeah, it's at this sort of length, it's getting very close to maxing out. Well, not maxing. very close to the I don't need pumps limit of what a pipe can do, all right, over a long distance. And to compensate for, you know, this one using 1260, this one using 1260, plus any losses through the system, he's actually got 3 offshore pumps that do 1200 each, pumping the 2 water lines for the 2 sets of heat exchangers. It's a wonderful little build, and as you can see, there's no smarts on it. We just shove fuel in as fast as we can, and just accept that it uses a little bit of fuel. You know, he's got 800 fuel here. Fuel's not really an issue, ever. Power drop-off. So this doesn't leave until it has at least 200 used fuel cells. Technically, he might end up with a situation where he actually has too many nuclear fuel cells down here, and they're not all in use. But you know, it's a future problem. I wanted to look at oil because speed module here. Speed module's pretty stock standard. Red circuits, green circuits, outposts. All the outposts are pretty much the same. They're just bots. Just have the bots fly. Have the bots work it out. It is only a 1k science pack per minute base, which I keep saying that. Tap this oil. I love it when people leave instructions for themselves. This is actually running a little bit slow. Yeah, he's hit the limit of how much can go through one pipe at one time. So this actually needs this section here be branched off to a second pipe, and again being run with as many pumps as possible to increase that throughput limit into these 2 tanks. And just accept half the oil goes to this set, half the oil goes to that set, and then through this pipe here they should balance. Should, I will say should. It's no guarantee when it comes to fluids in Factorio. It's just how it is. In fact, I would normally... No, we're not going to go there. We'll just accept that it's going to balance through this pipe. So his oil build somewhat fascinated me. Now, we've got sulfuric acid. So sulfuric acid doesn't quite have enough machines. So it's not quite 100% ratioed. But acid, you just produce so much so quickly. It's not too much of a hassle. He's got oil here, and again, per second, you do have it's hard to get oil to, or hard to get a fluid to move fast enough at around about 1200 of any oil per, or any liquid per second. So he's popped in just under that with 10 fully beaconed with a, it's not an 8, it's a 10 beacon setup. Whereas my oils, I tend to go with fewer oil refineries, but more beacons. It also means that after about 8 of them, 7 of them, I have to start adding pumps because I just don't have the throughput in the stock standard pipes. I need pumps to force things through faster. Anyway, we've got heavy popping out, popping around, going straight into light cracking. I haven't seen lubrication anywhere. Oh wow, it's all the way down here. Oh, with our own dedicated coal liquefaction. Okay, so we'll get back to that one. So we have acid, we have heavy oil, we have light oil to petroleum cracking. So we've got all the basics in here, right? And then the same again, obviously, to have more, because more's always better. 1 more just to cover all our bases. He brings the petroleum down around into a explosives build, and more of it pops down to plastic, which is all the way at the bottom. This is a far from ideal. Obviously, these train stations would do much better if they were slid forward. And personally, I have no idea why Aflixion hasn't done it, because there is room, and obviously he doesn't need the extra throughput. But then again, running the game at 6060, who really cares? You can be lazy at 6060. This is really your indication of how lazy you're allowed to be. When that starts dropping, you're like, yeah, I need to crank things in just a little bit and be a little bit less lazy. Anyway, all his light oil comes down here and it goes into a very, very odd, I don't understand the reason for the... Oh, that's the reason for the pipe spaghetti. So the light from this build is also pumped in there. Okie dokie. So, not my day. Not my day. Just yawn twice in a row. Not good. Anyway, makes light oil down here. Now, most people, like, I've covered this a few... Yeah, I've covered this in the last couple of base tours. Always make your solid fuel from light oil. Good practice, generally, is to have a backup for petroleum. And it looks like this is just the petroleum from this build is getting pumped into these particular solid fuel makers. Is that right? Yes. This solid fuel, this goes into there. So he's actually feeding this from these builds up here with the pipes coming down both sides of the bus. Haha! There's the other one. Okay, so he's making rocket fuel. So obviously bots fly the shortest distance possible. So they always pick up the light oil solid fuel first. Then they pick up this petroleum light oil second. And then, should they run out of options here, they'll actually come down to this one. So this becomes his de facto overflow for light oil, all right? For petroleum. Because if he ends up with a situation where you're backed up with petroleum, you're not producing more oil products. So you're not making heavy oil, you're not making light oil. Which means you have a risk of running out of other basic items like, you know, like lubricant, not so much in this case. Rocket fuel, definitely. You could end up with too much petroleum, not enough light fuel, light oil, therefore no solid fuel, therefore no petroleum. Anyway, so because the bots are constantly grabbing from the closest, it means this has become an overflow. Normally I do this with a set of pumps, and I'd say, look, only turn it on if the tank has too much in it. But just by a lack of proximity, is probably the best way of putting it, Aflixion's achieved the exact same goal as I would have without the involvement of any smarts, which I have to admit, now I've seen this, I'm like, that is a really good idea. I love that idea. As I said before, he's got a coal liquefaction to make heavy oil, which is of course outputting the heavy oil into a tank. Tank only outputs this way and this way. If we have probably too much heavy oil in the tank, then we'll turn these guys on, so hopefully we never run out of lube. Doesn't look like we will. Right, and any excess heavy gets turned into light, which gets brought along the side, gets turned into solid fuel to actually run the steam power for the coal liquefaction, and the excess to make sure this never backs up gets turned into petroleum, and then boom, lada bing, lada boom, gets turned back into solid fuel. So I have a feeling with exactly the right circumstances, this might back up eventually. But I have to say, it's a wonderful little build. And yeah, my only comment would be I would be moving coal down here, plastic over here, and obviously this station then becomes explosives. You know, just in case you need explosives for the make everything. Yep. But yeah, on top of that, look, he's done a wonderful job of actually paving all the train tracks. I really, really wish I had the patience to sit down and pave all my train tracks, any one of my bases, but I honestly can never bring myself to do it. I know it's going to take hours and hours and hours to do so. So I'm just not that keen on the idea. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to leave this one here. Thank you guys for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed. Thank you very much, Aflixion, for letting me have a look through your base. It's been a wonderful base tour, and as always, I've learned a little bit. Hopefully, you guys watching home have learned a little bit. If you want to have your base toured, looked at, featured, whatever you want to call it, by me, as always, details are in the description. Best spot to find me is on Discord. You can then hit me up, send me a message, we can talk live, send me a link to the map, and I'll have a look at it for you. So, thank you guys for watching. As always, hope you've enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Alright, bye!